PlayStation predictions for 2018 is finally here. I know, it's February 12th, but hey, better late than never. And there's still a lot of things that we don't know about with PlayStation, particularly when are the games coming out? What could their Metacritic scores be? What are they going to announce at E3? And when is the PlayStation 5 coming? All that stuff I'm going to talk about right now. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. And if you missed the companion video to this, where I did about Xbox predictions for 2018, make sure you go back and check that one out. Ooh, I love kind of making predictions. We got a lot to talk about here. Sony is releasing a whole bunch of games, and I'm going to try to put on my Schwami hat, rub the crystal ball a little bit, and try to get it right. Of course, don't take anything, super seriously. This is all just in fun. I don't really have any inside information, especially about Sony, because I don't know anybody there. So I'm just guessing, trying to do a little educated guesswork. And if I'm completely wrong, then I'm completely wrong. But hey, if I'm right, then I'm right. It's just for fun. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And if you do, leave a like. That would be awesome. But we're going to start off with the first game. Similar to the Xbox video where we started off with Sea of Thieves, the one game that we knew was coming out with the date. We're going to start off with God of War because we know when it's coming out. They recently revealed that it's coming out on April 20th. And there's been a whole lot of talk about optional bosses, skip bosses, no jump. Don't care about any of that stuff. The game looks phenomenal. I'm currently playing through God of War 3, and I'm actually kind of happy they've gone with the camera change and the change of his character a little bit. It'll be a nice change of pace for God of War. So actually, when I did my most anticipated videos for 2018, this was my number 2 most anticipated game. So when exactly, or what is the Metacritic score? I know this is tough. I sat there and I thought about this for a while, because I can see a lot of people being a little divided on the camera angle being so close. When the previous God of War games, it was far away, so you could have a bunch of huge fights. Now, it's possible that that camera angle still exists in the game, and you do get in those huge fights, but they haven't shown it. In fact, they haven't really shown off much about God of War. But honestly, I think God of War is going to be a very cinematic, story-driven game. A little bit different than Horizon Zero Dawn. When I looked at Horizon Zero Dawn, I thought that sat at an 89 on Metacritic. I think this is going to tell a better story from all accounts than Horizon Zero Dawn did. It's probably going to look better, and the combat's going to be probably much improved. So that's why I'm going to go with a higher Metacritic score for God of War when it comes out, and I'm going to say it's going to get a 91. I know that's pretty high, and don't take any of this Metacritic stuff as what I think the game is going to be, what I would give it, because obviously I haven't played it yet, so I don't know. This is what I think the media is going to give the scores for these games. So I'm trying to predict what they think, or what I think they think. You know what I'm saying. I think on Metacritic it'll get a 91, and it'll be a huge game for PlayStation. Now that's the first puzzle down. Now we have the whole rest of 2018 to try to figure out some of 2019 and what's going on at E3. So I think after God of War, the next game you'll see from PlayStation exclusive-wise will be Detroit Become Human. And I know it's getting some little controversy. David Cage is a lot of accusations thrown their way at him and at the studio, and people saying, oh, they need to cancel the game, or Sony needs to never work with them again. That video, I'm not going to make that video because that's just a topic I don't want to talk about, and it's not going to talk about that here. So I know it's been in the news lately. It looks like a really cool game, one that I'm very interested in, and I think the game is going to come out on May 25th, so the month after God of War. And I think, you know what, it's going to resonate with some people, so I'm going to give it, I think the Metacritic for that game will sit at around an 85. Now, I'm really interested in Detroit Become Human, more so than I ever was when I saw trailers for Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. But of course, whenever they do announce that, I think I'll probably play Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls to kind of get in the David Cage zone and see what Quantic Dream has to offer, because I've never played one of their games. So we have God of War, we have Detroit. What is the third game that Sony's going to put out this year? I think it's going to be Spider-Man. So my prediction is that Spider-Man will be the third game coming out from Sony this year, and that game will release in July, on July 17th. Be like the big release for that month. I don't think it's going to release in June. I don't think it's going to release in August. Oh, I guess it could come out in August. I think July, August is the 2 months it could come out in. But the Metacritic score, I think that's going to sit at an 88. I think it's going to be lower than God of War, a bit higher than Detroit. I think people are going to liken it very much to the Batman Arkham games. In fact, so much so that some people might critique it for being too much like Batman, even though you can swing around the city like Spider-Man. The combat seems very much like Batman. And, you know, this will be the best rated and probably the best-selling Spider-Man game of all time, and as it should be. Insomniac is one of the best developers out there, and, you know, I can't wait to play it. It's my most anticipated game for this year on any platform. I really hope they knock it out of the park, and I'm curious to see more of it. They're also holding back a lot as well. We've only really seen one villain. We know there's probably way more, and we haven't seen much of, like, what you're doing from the the day-to-day tasks. Like, we haven't seen much of the swinging around. We've seen that one long extended gameplay demo at E3 last year, and then we've seen that quick teaser trailer. Game looks great. Game looks like it's going to play great. I just don't think it's going to reach as high as God of War, mainly because a lot of people will compare the combat and some of the stuff from the Batman games, which will drag down the score a tad. And the fourth game that Sony will release this holiday will be Dreams, which I have zero interest in from Media Molecules. I think that game comes out early September, figure around September 7th, and the Metacritic will be something like 75. I don't know, maybe it's a little biased. Like, I look at that game and it does nothing for me, so I figure maybe it doesn't, nothing for everybody else. So that's my prediction, is that Dreams comes out September 7th, and I don't think it does very well. I think Sony kind of sweeps that one under the rug like they did for Knack 2. It just kind of releases without much fanfare and isn't very good, and they just kind of like, oh, we need to get this game out and go around with the rest of their year. And I think that's all the games Sony are going to release this year, first party-wise. Of course, barring any indie game collaborations they have with someone, which they don't really seem to do. And of course, PSVR stuff, they're going to do that. I'm just not sure what titles they have. So those are to be the main kind of exclusive games that come out for 2018. And I already know what you're saying, but Rand, Sony said Days Gone is 2018. And I think maybe at one point it was, but I no longer think it's 2018. So that's my prediction, is that Days Gone is now a 2019 title. And I think one of the reasons it got moved is I think it's possibly moved out of the way because Red Dead got moved to October, and Sony has the marketing rights for that game. And they're going to go balls to the wall because Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be one of the biggest games of the year. And then they have the Call of Duty marketing rights. And who knows what other third-party marketing rights Sony will gobble up. So I think Days Gone is a casualty of that move. Because once you have those other games, which I think are closer to being completed, you have to kind of move a game, even if it's ready. So I think Days Gone gets moved to February, maybe early March of next year. And another reason it very well could have been moved is that Sony's looking to bolster their early 2019 lineup. Because God of War will be out, Detroit will be out, Spider-Man will be out, Dreams will be out. All that's really left from games that are announced are Last of Us 2, Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima. So it's very likely that Sony delayed it out of 2018 so that it could be an early title for next year to bolster their continued success, that they saw with Horizon Zero Dawn, and they will see with God of War. They want a game early, and I think Days Gone will fit that, because I don't think Last of Us will be ready by that time, and I don't think either will Death Stranding or Ghost of Tsushima. So Days Gone is just kind of one of those games that probably is finished, probably could have came out in September or maybe early October, but they decided it's better for the title and for their bottom line to move it to next year. So look for Days Gone sometime in February of 2019. Well, and I mentioned these other games before. Where does that leave Last of Us 2, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima? Well, I think Last of Us 2 is coming out next year. It'll be a 2019 title, and it will release on the anniversary of Last of Us 1, so around June 12th, and it'll be one of the biggest games for the PlayStation 4. I don't think it's a 2020 title. I think it's 2019. And I also feel that Death Stranding is also a 2019 title, and that game will come out in September. I'm sure you'll see more gameplay, like straight-up gameplay at E3 this year for Last of Us, and you'll probably actually get the gameplay debut at Death Stranding, which I've heard is actually farther along than most people think. So I think those are Sony's big hitters for next year. This year you got God of War, Detroit, Spider-Man, and Dreams. Next year Sony's lineup is Days Gone, Last of Us 2, and Death Stranding. And I'm sure you're wondering, well, wait, what about Ghost of Tsushima? And I think Ghost of Tsushima is a 2020 title. In fact, I'm going to throw a little prediction here that Ghost of Tsushima is a 2020 title, and it's a PS5 launch game with a PS4 version cross-gen. Yeah, I know some of you will be like, well, that game's next year. And it very well could, but it's just a little fun prediction. I think Ghost of Tsushima is a PS5 title because, as I mentioned in my Xbox prediction video, I feel that the PS5 is coming in 2020, despite how well the PlayStation 4 is doing. They got to roll out the next generation of titles. So what else are you going to see this year from Sony, whether at E3 and all the other things? Well, you're going to see more PSVR titles. Sony is the forefront runner in PSVR, and I wouldn't be surprised if actually one of their bigger titles made the jump to PSVR, something along the lines of Uncharted. Not done by Naughty Dog, but maybe an Uncharted-like experience made from a smaller studio for PSVR. I think that's going to happen, and I continue to see Sony just supporting PSVR in a way that a lot of us didn't think they would, despite it only selling 2 million units. It's got to really come down in price. It's got to also, there's just too many wires, even for my taste. I think we're still a couple years away from it being truly, truly mainstream. The price got to come down. The headset's got to get slimmer. And there's got to be better, more AAA experiences on the device. But I continue to see Sony talking it up and releasing more games for it. They're not going to throw it to the wayside like other peripherals like the Move and things like that. Now, when you actually get to the E3, like I mentioned before, you'll see gameplay for Last of Us 2, gameplay for Death Stranding, all that good stuff. Maybe finally, I know this is an off-the-wall prediction, probably not going to be true, but Sony will announce that they've struck a deal with Rockstar, an agent. I know it's that rumor that never goes away, and it's probably a wrong one, but still, it's a fun one, is that, an agent they're struck some deal, an agent will be revived from Rockstar. Probably not going to happen, but would be interesting. Another thing you're definitely going to see, I think, at E3 is that Sony's going to announce that PlayStation name changes are ready. So one of these betas coming up, PlayStation, PSN 6.02 or something, will be a thing for name changes, and that'll get announced at E3 to thunderous applause. You Sony go, name changes, yeah. People have wanted it, and they'll make it happen, and it's taken a long time, but name changes will be announced at E3. Some price drops, of course, are going to happen sometime this year, right close to the holiday. I think the PS4 will drop to $250 because I think it's right around $299-ish. They'll drop at $50, and the Pro will drop to $350. But of course, during the holiday season, you'll be able to get a PlayStation for probably even less than $199, which is what they sold it for this Black Friday. And you'll probably be able to get the Pro for around $300. Now, will there be a PS4 Pro Slim or another revision for the PlayStation 4? I don't think this year. Maybe that comes out early 2019. I know they did a couple revisions for the PlayStation 2, and they did a couple of revisions for the PlayStation 3. I don't think we're that far away yet. So I think maybe 2019 you'll see a revision for the PlayStation 4 Slim to make it even slimmer and get that cost down even more, so you can actually sell that for $199 and cheaper. And then I think the Pro will see a definite reduction in size in 2019 at some point. But they won't add a 4K Blu-ray player. I think that ship has sailed. 4K, even though Microsoft has 4K physical media, I don't really see a lot of people clamoring for it, so I don't think Sony will add it in there. Now, Shadow the Colossus has been kind of big in the news, and people are wondering, hey, what is Bluepoint going to work on next? They said that they're working on a classic franchise they want to bring back, and what could it possibly be? I was kind of racking my brain. I think they'll work with Sony again on this one, even though they've worked with Microsoft before. They did do the Titanfall game. So I'm just kind of like thinking in my head, what Sony games could they redo? And there's two that are candidates, and I want to mention them both, talk about it, and then say, okay, this is the one I think. So the two candidates I have here for a remade Bluepoint game is Syphon Filter and Socom. Now, a lot of people, especially with like the rise of the Battle Royale and that tactical style of gunplay, even like Ghost Recon, people are like, it's time for Socom to come back, even though the studio that made the Socom games is no longer with us. A lot of people feel that it's time that people are ready again for the tactical kind of gameplay that Socom offered. It once was one of Sony's bigger franchises, but it's gone away for a while. And of course, there's always Syphon Filter. I see a lot of people ask about this game, including myself. I loved Syphon Filter. You know, it was Splinter Cell, was a nice, you know, stealth action game with a really cool story. So those are the two games I kind of think, you know, could get remade from Bluepoint. The question is, which one will it get remade? Because there's not going to be both. So in the comments below, I want you to say, which one do you want from Bluepoint? Would you rather see Socom get remade from them, maybe bring back the franchise, or would you like to see Syphon Filter get remade? And to answer the question myself, I'd rather see Syphon Filter get remade. We don't get a lot of stealth action games anymore. I mean, Splinter Cell games are few and far between. So if Sony were to bring back one of their classic franchises that is stealth orientated, I'd be completely down for that, in a way that I wouldn't really care about Socom. I was never big into Socom. So for me, Syphon Filter is the game that Bluepoint would be working on, and it'll be announced maybe this year at E3 or maybe 2019. Either way. Now, the last kind of off-the-wall prediction I have for you guys here is kind of crazy, and I don't think you'll hear about it yet. But as I mentioned in the Xbox video, I think next gen is coming. I think it's going to, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Next are coming 2020. You won't hear about it from Sony and Microsoft this year, even though some details might leak toward the end of the year because the third parties are probably going to be briefed on it soon. Maybe you'll hear about specs and things like that. But one of the things that I expect Sony possibly to do, and this is just fun, you know, it's probably not going to happen, but I know they're eyeing the success of the Switch. They have to know that. Like how fast Nintendo's just racking up sales, how well they're doing in Japan, right? So I would not be surprised if 2020 they launch a PlayStation 5 that is really powerful, but also a companion to go along with it that is Switch-like. So they're going to bring back the PSP or Vita, where you can actually play all the games on your PSP on the go. It won't be a device like the Switch, like a hybrid, so it won't be something you like stick in and then take it on the go, or, you know, play on the TV. But I think they're eyeing the Switch, they're seeing the success it has, that, you know, that type of gaming is in, and that a lot of reports are coming out about games selling best on Switch lately, that I think Sony's going to eye that market and be like, now's the time to bring back the PSP. People are back into mobile gaming when we thought mobile gaming was just going to be phones, but a dedicated handheld device could work. Now, I still think the PS5 will be a dedicated console. It's just like this will be like a kind of companion piece to go along with it. So I think Sony's really thinking about that, and I would not be surprised that when the PS5 launches in 2020, you'll have the resurgency of the PSP to go along with it to kind of tackle the market that Nintendo just basically has for themselves right now. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed some of these predictions for the games, the meta, when they're coming out, and things like that. And if you did, could you please leave a like? That would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.